All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. So great to have you all join live. Please let us know where you all are joining from, and I can look at all the chats and we can keep the ball rolling. Let's get into this. AI is not the problem, the foundation is, right? We all have been hearing a lot about AI in the last 3 years. Things have changed massively. And uh, we are going back to the foundation, the talking, where AI is cool and there's a lot that we can do with AI, but no one's talking about the foundation, or people have started talking about the foundation. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Most organizations still don't have the data foundation that's needed for AI. So that is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this conversation and bring Raul and Bruno together, and discuss about various things. So first of all, Bruno, Raul, welcome. Super excited to chat with both of you. Just for our audience, would you like to quickly introduce yourself? Tell us more about what do you do, and tell a little bit about what are we going to talk about today. Maybe Bruno, you can start first.
Yeah, hi Ravit. Hi Raul. So, hello everyone. My name is Bruno Billy. I am the president and CEO of AppGuard North America. I'm based in Austin, in Texas. I've been working in data management for more than 20 years, and the past 15 years, the first 15 years as a client, a data professional working on data management, data governance, different things. And for the past 6 years, actually, I've been leading and developing AppGuard in North America, from here, from Texas, but also covering North America, so Canada and Mexico. And just one word about AppGuard. So we are a consulting firm, services firm, and we enable trusted AI-ready data foundations, and we build those foundations for our customers. Um, and we'll be talking about those foundations today.
Fantastic. Raul, tell us a little bit about what you do, and tell us a little bit about your role as well.
Sure. Good morning. Hi, Ravit. Hi, Bruno. So I'm Rahul. I lead the data governance team at New York Life. New York Life is one of the largest life insurers here in US.
Yes.
But I'm relatively new to the company. Before this, I was for the last 2 decades working in the data space, master data management, data governance, data quality. So data has been the building those data foundations has been the core of my professional experience so
Fantastic, Raul. Amazing experience and the amazing things that you've been doing in this space. So let's get into it. When you look at organizations today, what is the biggest gap uh, between the AI ambition and between the actual data readiness? Because I'm pretty sure in your conversations or in the work that you do, data plays a very important role. And to make AI work, you definitely need to have the right data readiness. So tell us a little bit about that gap, and then we're going to ask from Bruno as well.
far. Okay, so I think there's never just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
At least when you think about it from a large organization's point of view, we're such complex beasts that there's always a million things that you need to think about all at the same time. We're not going to talk about a million things. I'm going to pick three. So the
Yeah,
first one
sure.
that I'll say is technology debt, tech debt. It's not one of those fancy things that the architects like to throw around. It is real. You cannot literally put a Ferrari engine into a horse-drawn carriage.
So
A lot
true.
of organizations are still trying to run real-time AI agents on top of very brittle batch-oriented legacy stacks. That's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a real challenge. So that's
Mm.
one. Second is what I'm calling a semantic chasm, right? So the gap between having data and understanding it. We all have loads of data. We've been collecting data since the beginning of the time. But
Right.
AI now requires high fidelity metadata to function without hallucinations.
Mm.
And the third thing that I'll add to that list is operational readiness. And because I believe this is where the who fails the what. The what and the how, that the tech part is still the easier bit, but operationalizing your AI ambitions, building the frameworks around it, making sure there's right federated accountability models, that's still an open challenge across a lot of organizations. Bruno, how do
Yeah.
you see this?
Um, a bit similar, of course. And I would say that the ambition is the easy part. It's not the problem, really. Leadership team everywhere, they have a lot of ambition with AI. That's not a problem. The gap that I see is more, of course, with the execution,
Mm,
and the execution specifically between having data, and like you said, we have tons of data, um, but being able to do something with it and rely on it. So that's the main problem that I see. And too often, again, we still see companies approaching AI as a model problem. So they will be asking us, which tools should I buy? Which copilots should I deploy? Which use cases should I prioritize? And that's fine. Okay, they're good questions, important questions, but it's missing still something fundamental. And that thing
mm.
is, can your company provide data consistently, data that is interpretable by everyone, usable by everyone in your organization? And as we know, many cases the answer is no. And so the readiness is coming to very simple questions like, okay, can you rely today on your data to make important decisions? And if we think about AI, agentic AI, and we go even further, it'd be like, do you even trust, or do you trust your system, and do you trust it enough to give the responsibility of those important decisions to an AI agent? Probably, yeah, I'm not sure. And then one last thing will be like, okay, that's fine. Can you scale one use case without rebuilding everything every time? And I think that's where companies hesitate, and it's also simply because sometimes we don't fully align on what a solid data foundation requires. And just again, coming back to the basics.
Yeah, I love it. Bruno, these are fantastic insights. And Raul, thanks for sharing your thoughts as well. Bruno, I have like a curious question for you, and we're going to stick to, data foundation for this one. What I'm kind of wanting to know is what really needs to be in place for data to be usable at scale. How does that happen? Tell us a little bit about that. And from your experience working with larger enterprises out there, how do you kind of make that easier for those enterprise leaders?
Okay. So first, I don't think a data foundation is a collection or a stack of tools and technologies.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a set of capabilities you need. And I would think that three core capabilities are really needed and required. So the first one, that's the easy one. It's storing data, storing it in a consistent way, in a reliable way. The second one will be moving data and delivering data across the different systems and the different teams. So I mean, like getting the right data in the right format to the right people when they need it. That's quite, yeah, obvious. But most importantly, one capability that is critical is understanding data the same way. And that's where today we see organizations struggle, because they will define, like, if we take the example, for instance, defining a customer, defining a product, defining how you calculate revenue or churn.
Right.
That's not a technical challenge, it's a business alignment challenge. And that's of course what we do at AppGuard, so helping organizations build, strengthen those capabilities for to structure the data, to connect systems, and of course here, and that's the topic of today, most critically aligning meaning and giving context across the entire business and the entire organization.
Loving it. Raul, what are your thoughts?
I'd say mostly similar-ish, but if I may, I'll go back to my three the foundational gaps, and then
Yep.
talk about data foundation, about mitigating or filling those gaps. So I talked about technical debt that kind of translates into building a modern stack. So again, if you have those siloed data systems that don't talk to each other or talk in terms of batch processes, those
Right.
need to get modernized. You need to have modern data architectures that can handle both structured and unstructured data. The semantic chasm translates to a common data language. So
Right.
building that semantic layer, which means moving away from just storing data to storing meaning. How do you make sure everybody's, to Bruno, your point, talking about revenue in the same terms? And operational readiness, I'm going to say, start thinking of it in terms of data as a product. Because again, like Bruno, you said, for data to be usable at scale, it has to be discoverable, well governed, trustworthy, available in real time, at the right pace, and
Mhm.
in a framework that's interoperable. So modern stack, common language, data as a product.
Yeah, love it. Raul, let me stay with you on this one. Let's talk a little bit about the AI initiatives as well. How have you seen AI initiatives fail because the data foundation wasn't just enough or strong enough to, obviously make sure that the AI projects will actually succeed? So tell us a little bit about how have you seen those AI initiatives fail?
Um, so without taking any real names, but these are examples in the public domain, right?
Right.
So there's I'm sure a lot of us would have heard these examples. A large real estate player built a buying algorithm,
Mm,
and it just lacked some real-time insights,
true.
locality-based context, and that just resulted in them purchasing assets at a much inflated rates, and then eventually they had to sell them for a loss.
Yeah.
And then that happened at a speed of lightning, because AI just doesn't do one transaction and say, "Oh, I made a mistake." It'll just go ahead and commit 1,000 transactions, and by the time you realize that 1,000 of them have gone wrong, you spent millions of dollars.
Right.
Um, the other one that comes to mind is there was this large financial services, a big lender. They had this issue where poor data quality and lack of governance, like governance on in legacy data pipelines,
Hmm.
resulted in data getting fed into their automated lending programs, and eventually these
Oh,
were bad credit scores and inaccurate credit lending decisions. So this had impact on real people, their people's lives, their ability to, let's say, buy a house or make a purchase. Those got impacted. So uh, these are real examples where you either had a like a financial loss or a loss of reputation or potentially even regulatory impact. So it's not just, hey, I asked a question to ChatGPT and I got a wrong answer. There's real impact here of getting it wrong.
yeah, I feel like this becomes also it's you. I always talk to enterprise leaders a lot, and one thing that always hear from them is, Ravi, everything that you see outside doesn't have to be implemented internally. What we do as well in terms of the AI initiatives that you're seeing, that, oh, this maybe finance company is doing big work in the AI agent space, and they've been using agents to do a lot of things not that would you fit to the different use cases that other finance companies might have. So even
Absolutely.
and then a lot goes back to the data foundation. Is my data ready to understand how agents will operate? And if agents are talking to agents, will it be making sure that it's picking the right data, the governed data, and we'll see the right results. So those are the AI initiatives that enterprise leaders are very careful about to avoid such AI initiatives to fail. So that's pretty interesting insights, Rahul. Thanks for sharing those examples as well. Bruno, I'm kind of wanting to understand from your thoughts as well. We, I know you work with larger enterprises out there. So when organizations try to scale, where does it usually break? Where do you see that point? Is it like cultural thing? Is it more like, oh, understanding you ambitious about it, but then it becomes hard for you all to scale because there's your data is siloed? Or is it more like the governance, the ownership, the trust? What have you seen? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's one thing. It's more like a combination of several things, several
Okay.
factors, maybe a
Yep.
million things, like you said, Raul. Maybe not a million, but quite a good number. And I think clearly for scalability, it's really when you transition from one success locally to something enterprise wide. So you want to bring success locally to enterprise wide success. That's the challenge, because at the beginning, everything works. You have a team building
For sure.
something, they have AI ready data, the use case works perfectly well. And it's also because this team, they can easily solve everything. Ambiguity, they can reconcile different definitions that are different. They will fix issues, data quality issues manually. All good. Now you try to scale,
Mm.
and that model doesn't work anymore. You have multiple teams working on the same data or depending on the same data sets. The new team, they have different definitions of a customer, of a product, of how we calculate revenue again. And they will challenge your data quality. Maybe they will challenge the sensitivity of the data itself or data protection. And it's
Mm.
when you have governance, ownership, and trust all show up at the same time, and uh, and that's where things get complicated. But here, the instinct, and I know because I've been doing this for quite some time now, the instinct
Right.
will be to blame people and say, okay, they didn't follow the standards, they created their own version, they created their own silo, or they're doing shadow IT or whatever. Okay, but I think in reality the system is often, or still too often, forcing that behavior. Because if we build something that is too slow, too rigid, unclear, then people very naturally they will try to work around it. And that's where the operating model you build or you define and the technical choices will matter. And if I take one example, for instance, we've seen it in the past. If you have a purely centralized model, that will create, I'm sure, some bottlenecks in the future, when instead of this you have like a well governed federated model. And that model will enable reuse. Um, and what I mean by well governed, because this is a bit subjective, um, well governed means that you give autonomy to different teams and different groups in your organization, but you also ensure that you have strict adherence to some standards, and those standards are non-negotiable.
Mm.
That's the way we go in this company. So we had like big data years ago, so I don't think scale requires more data. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more like the process of repeating and repeatability without having to negotiate or renegotiate every time you bring someone new to the initiative.
Yeah, I love these points and how you've kind of, obviously explained in detail. It helps us to, understand how data kind of also plays an important role, but then how internally it has to be done. Bruno, building on that, we all have been hearing a lot about context lately, and
Mhm.
obviously it plays a very important role. We all have seen that. What role does context play in making data actually work for AI? What are your thoughts? Because data alone is not enough anymore. So tell us a little bit about the context piece, and Raul would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah,
So
so
Bruno, you can go
context.
first. Yep.
Yeah, okay, sure. Context. I feel like I've always worked on context actually. Before AI, what we meant with context was something like localizing ERPs, localizing systems,
Right.
adapting workflows to how the business actually operates.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the context you were bringing to the systems. But at that time, there was, and it's still the case, of course, but there's a major assumption here, is that humans, people, are still in the loop. They
Right.
control the output, and they would compensate in case of ambiguity, in case of problems of definitions, for instance. But that doesn't work, and that breaks completely with AI, because AI will not interpret the context. It depends on that context. So we say
Right.
that, typically we love to say that AI runs on data, but here I want to say that decisions run on context. So
Mm.
let me give you an example. That's a good one. I've seen an AI model surface a list of top 10 customers at risk. In the room, people were discussing, but no one could explain or agree on why those customers, the top 10 customers at risk, they were on that list. Because
Mm-hmm.
sales had one view, finance had another one, customer success had a third view. So at the end, instead of acting to mitigate the risk, the meeting turned into a debate. And it was not because the model was wrong, it was not because the data was wrong, it was just because the context was not shared, and the definition of what is a customer at risk, that definition was different for everyone. So if we step back just a little bit on the foundation, I think the context resides in the data management layer. So in that layer, this is where we align, this is where we structure, we give meaning, we align on meaning, and we also align on values across systems. So, and in the past, many years, we've seen companies spend a lot on persistence, storing the data, on data ops, moving the data from one place to another, one system to another. But many companies have underestimated the context layer. And unfortunately, now with AI, without that shared context, uh, AI will not scale the decisions. AI will scale the confusion.
Yeah, I love it. I love these insights, and Bruno, how y'all have been working over it, in the example as well. Raul, what's your thoughts on context?
I would say, Bruno, that was pretty spot on. The only other thing that comes to mind is I think I've started hearing this a lot this year now, that we went from content is king to now context is king. Um,
Mhm,
and you spot on there, Bruno. I mean, previously, let's say you and I were talking, you'd say United States, I'd say USA. We understand each
mhm.
other, right? This is a
Yeah.
very dumbed down example, right? But for an AI agent to take this
It
and
is
say,
good.
okay, what you're talking is the same as what's written here, may or may not work. So do you want to leave that to chance? So that's why context is key.
Yeah, I love it. I know there are a few questions from the audience as well. So those who are watching, I'll be taking those questions for sure for Raul and Bruno to answer. But before we get into those questions, Raul, can you also share a little bit about any real world example where having a strong data foundation directly, accelerated the AI success? Anything that comes to your mind?
I'm glad we're switching around because it seemed like this was all doom and gloom, right? This is an uphill task and people have failed. It's not necessarily only that, right? The folks who are doing it right are
Exactly.
making some fantastic strides in this space. Again, without making any names, examples from the public domain, on the largest retailers on the planet Earth, building this real-time data foundation, which is pulling information from the shelves, from the
Yep.
point of sales, and integrating that with what suppliers have got to make sure that the suppliers are no longer guessing what's going to sell and is May the hot season or is December the hot season for my product. They're getting real-time data, and then AI models on top can make
Right.
those demand prediction models, which ensure that there's no empty shelves, there's no wasted products. So having a strong foundation has real business impact. Another one that comes to mind and goes back to building that strong data foundation, a large consumer goods company, they went from this AI sizzle to AI steak model. I'm sure a lot of folks would be seeing this. There's a lot of AI pilots that are happening across the board. Some make it,
Right.
some don't, but it's difficult to build those at scale. So what this company did was they stopped funding individual AI projects and instead funded a trusted data platform. And that
Mm.
becomes a reusable foundation for all of your AI initiatives. So again, there's so many great examples out there. If you get it right, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I love it. So I have one question that I'm going to take from actually a few questions. So let's take these questions. Amar is asking context layer. How did you build? Bruno, would you like to jump in? How do you build a context layer?
How do you How do you build a context layer?
Yeah, how do you build it?
Yes, I think that was
Like
the question. Sorry.
that's right.
Oh, the context layer. So you have different things. What I'm thinking here is, for instance, there's an obvious one, and this is where we have experience, of course, is with master data. That's one. Reference data is another one. So you're building a repository of definitions and master data on customers and products on your organization, whatever, and you're making it available across your organization. So, but it's not just one entity. So it's not just one customer, for instance. It's also the
Mhm.
relationship with other entities,
True.
and you're giving that context to other systems and to analytics, of course, operations, your systems, but applications. But now you also give that same context real time to your AI. And so that would be, I think, the key layer here for
Yeah.
context.
That's fantastic. Also, Pedro asks, in large enterprises, silos will always exist. So the real question is, how do we create governed context layer across them? I think this is something you've already answered. So it kind of answers two questions.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at one more question here, but for those who are attending, we all can keep asking questions. We'll definitely take it. So Mayal is asking, how to engage business users in building data foundation, how to make them understand the importance of good data makes huge impact also on their daily work. So Rahul, maybe you can take this one. How do you
And
motivate people to make sure that building data foundation is very necessary to make sure we're seeing good AI projects succeed in we're seeing that difference? How does that happen?
it's a $1 million question, right, Mikhail? There are folks in the business who'd understand this right away, right? Because they've seen past initiatives fail or succeed because of good data quality. I'd say start with those folks, friends and family, so to say, and then start showing value. Because that's when you take it from a like an idea from a slide to his look what we did with this particular team, how we solved a real business problem, how we improved operational efficiencies, how do we get into better insights, better regulatory outcomes. That becomes a showcase example, and hopefully that helps build that traction over time. So that's one way,
Right.
bottom up. What also helps is top down. So if you have the C-suite buy-in, nothing matches that mandate. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And doing both bottom up, top down,
mm,
that's the way to go. And finding your champions. So some people are very motivated. So yeah, work with them and build that momentum with your champions, and you'll yeah, the adoption will happen, I think.
Yeah, I love it. Love these insights, Rahul, Bruno. I'm thinking of making this a little more practical as well. So if a company is watching this and thinking we need to fix this, right? What are the two things that they can realistically do in the next maybe 90 days to get started? Rahul, maybe you can go first.
90 days, no pressure. Sure. I will go back to my 3 points, right? Think about how do you pay down your technical debt? How do you build that semantic map? How do you solve that ownership void with data products? But you probably can't solve all of this all together. So how about taking a vertical slice and tie it to a business outcome, tie it to your high value goals, visions, strategic objectives, and create a like a microcosm of hey, here's what we can do, tied with good technology, good data, tied to a business outcome to again show early value and then hopefully gain traction from there on.
Love it. Bruno, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not yeah, probably the same, quite similar. And to continue on what we were just discussing before the adoption and everything, I would say that obviously you're not going to build a foundation in 90 days. That's not the goal anyway. But what you can probably really achieve in 90 days is clarity on where you are today. So you start with the diagnostic, and you are not trying to do everything, not boil the ocean, not across everything in your organization, but you do it where it matters most. And um, and how to do this, I would say that you look at where your organization today is already paying the price, where AI has already been explored. You know those pilots, the use cases that have been deployed, blah blah blah, areas where the business is expecting a lot of value, and that's not too difficult to know that. And then you ask a simple question to these people. Then what's getting in the way if they are not realizing value from those pilots or not able to scale? You're just asking questions like, what's getting in the way? Is it the context because the definitions are not clear? Is it
Right.
the movement because you're not able to move data to the right people in the right format when it's needed? Or is it something else like reliability, so people don't trust the data to make decisions or to feed AI for those uh, agentic AI decisions. And then once you have that, you focus on one domain where the impact is real. It could be your customers, it could be your products, it could be operations. Again, somewhere where the wrong data is already creating friction in your organization. And then you focus on those use cases, you focus on those domains. There's business interest from the top, value, and and then if you do this, what you will do is actually you will do two things. You will create that momentum we discussed, and then also I think, and that's good for scalability, you will create or establish a pattern, and that pattern you can repeat. So maybe some of you know about that rule of 21-90 days. So the 21 days is the time it takes to form a habit, and the 90 days is the time it takes to make it stick.
Yep.
So I think building that foundation is like really working the same way. The first weeks, you are just creating awareness of what doesn't work or doesn't work so well and what really matters. And
Right.
then the 90 days milestone is you're building, installing a new way of working, shared definitions, context, ownership, and the discipline around data. So 90 days won't give you a foundation, but I'm sure it will give you a repeatable way to build a foundation. And that's really the moment. I think everything we hearing about context, this is the moment.
This is great. This is amazing 90-day plan that you've already put together. But those who are attending, if you want to, also connect with Bruno and Raul, you can definitely follow them on LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
they'll give you, they are always approachable and great people to talk about data, AI, governance, data quality, foundation. What obviously I want to keep this conversation going, and we'll obviously do a part two. We'll do something together again. But this was great conversation. If there's one, you know, thing that I have to take away, it's, AI success is not about the model, is what I feel. It's about the data behind it. And
Mhm.
most teams don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because
Mhm.
foundation isn't ready for scale. So
Yeah.
maybe work on the foundation. We all can have our great ambitions to make sure we're reaching there. We talked also a lot about, the real data foundation, how it looks like, where things break, what actually works, what actually doesn't work, and how, what you try to operationalize, uh, and how enterprises actually work internally with AI. So we've got a good picture from Rahul and Bruno. For those who are attending, if you're really serious about moving from experimentation to production, I think this is how it all works and comes together. So, Rahul, one last question for you, and one last question for you, Bruno. If folks want to, I don't know how much you all go out and put content, but as I said, is LinkedIn the best place to follow both of you, or do you all have any other channels where they can be learning more about the different things that you both are doing? Rahul, what's the best place?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the good place. Yep.
Fantastic,
Yeah,
Bruno,
same
for
for
you.
me. Yeah, same for me, LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. This was great. For those who are attending, if you all have more questions, feel free to reach out to Rahul and Bruno, and we'll keep the conversation going.
Thank you, Ravit. Thank you,
Yeah,
Rahul. Have a
sure.
great day
Thanks everyone.
Mm,
and
awesome.
have a good
Take
day.
care.
See you. See
Thank
you.
you, everyone, for joining us.